We have here the review for Chapter 8, Part B. This focuses on Sections 8.5 and 8.6. Now, these first two, we actually had ones like this on a previous test, but I wanted to do these two, not so much because there'll be ones like them on this test, but more so because this helps emphasize what you must remember is factoring rule number one, and that's look to see if there's anything that all the pieces have in common. So on 38, we see that 12 can go evenly into both of these. So we can factor out a 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1, and that leaves an x. You can write 1x if you want, but just x is fine. 24 divided by 12 is 2, and the y stays where it is. So this is factoring by the greatest common factor. The focus we're trying to make here is what do the pieces have in common? Pull that out first and foremost. 48xy minus 16x cubed y plus 10y. So we want to first look at the coefficients and say, what's the number that could go evenly into all three of those? So we might first think 4, because 4 goes evenly into both 8 and 16, but 4 will not go into 10. So I have to go something smaller than 4. 2 will go into all three of these because they're all even. So I'll pull a 2 out front. And while this one has an x and this one has an x, this one does not. So we can't pull out an x. But they all three do have a y, so I can pull a y out front. 8 divided by 2 is 4. We took the y away, but there's still an x left over. 16 divided by 2 is 8. We took the y away, but there's an x cubed still left over. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and the y disappeared, so it's just the constant 5. This may look like some of the quadratic trinomials we did, but if you notice, that's got a cube in it, not a squared, so there's nothing further we have to do to factor on this one. But again, on the test, it'll look a lot more like 42 through the end, the ones I'm about to do, but I wanted to do these two just to remind you that the rule number one in factoring is to see if there's anything that all the terms have in common other than one that you can factor out of it. And if you can, do that first. There's really just two different kinds of questions on here. There's questions that have 4 pieces, like the one I've already written down. When you have 4 pieces, you do grouping. So like I said, there's really just 2 kinds of questions I've put on this test. I've already written it. I know what it's like. There's questions that have 4 pieces or 4 terms like this. Those you factor by grouping. The other kind, which we'll do, has 3 pieces. Those are quadratic trinomials, so that's where you try to multiply to be the last number and add up to the middle number. So I'm going to go through all these so you guys can follow along and make sure you understand what's going on. We want to pair these in 2s. Okay, now this is a negative, so what I'm going to do is put parentheses around it, but a plus in between, because that minus only applies to this term. If I put a minus out in front of the parentheses, that implies this is also negative. We don't want to do that. So if there's a negative right there, put the parenthesis around it, put a plus in between the two. So I look here and look to see what these two have in common. There's no number they have in common other than 1, but they do both have an x, so I can pull an x out front. So that leaves the 2, and I take one of the x's away, leaving just 2x. That leaves the 3. Takes the x away, so all that's left is the z. Now, because this one has a negative, I do want to factor out a -1. So I'm going to write a -1 right here. And they do both have a y in common. So I'll put -1y out front. Now, if you want to write plus -1y, you can, but it's the same as just say -1y. So again, because the first term was negative, I pulled out a -1. So that changes this to a +2, changes this to a -3. And you'll see why that's a good thing in just a moment. So I'm just going to say it again. If the first term in a group or in a pair is negative, pull out a -1. That'll change the signs of both of these. Okay, so we took away the y, so now all that's left is the 2 and the x. We took away this y, so all that's left is the 3 and the z. So the good thing about us factoring out that -1 is now these two pieces match. So I can pull 2x minus 3z out front, leaving me with x minus y. If you want to write 1y, that's fine, but you don't have to. You can write it as y or 1y. And if you have these in different order, like if you have x minus y first, this one second, that's completely fine. It makes no difference. Okay, 44 is 24ab plus 54a minus 20b minus 45. So we'll pair them up again. I'm going to plus here and put those both in parentheses because we want to do that anytime there's a negative out front. So we got to think, what's the biggest number that would go into both 24 and 54? Okay, 24 doesn't go into 54, neither does 12, neither does 8, 6. 6 goes into both of those because 6 times 9 is 54, 6 times 4 is 24. So 6 is the number, and they both have an a in common, so I'll pull that out front. 24 divided by 6 is 4. The a goes away, so we're just left with the b. 54 divided by 6 is 9, and we pull out its a, so it's all done. Now on this one, we still want to look for what number, the big number they both have in common, which is 5, but we're going to pull out a negative 5, because we don't want these two terms to be negative. We want them to be positive like these two are. So that's why we pull out a negative 5. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. Leave the b. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And again, these went from being negative terms to positive terms because we factored out a negative 5. So I really should have said negative 20 divided by negative 5, positive 4. Negative 45 divided by negative 5 is positive 9. So they both have 4b plus 9. I can pull that out front. That leaves us with 6a minus 5. Okay, 46, there's nothing like that on the test, so we'll just ignore it. We won't worry about 48 either, nothing like that on the test. So let's skip to 50. So from here on, we're doing the quadratic trinomials, meaning the things with 3 terms. So we say, all right, what multiplies to be 20? And adds up to 9. Now you don't have to list all of these. I did that just so you know it's okay if your first guess isn't right. If you can see right away, oh, that's going to be 4 and 5. That's great. You can just skip right to that. Then you would say x plus 4, x plus 5. And you're done. Because 4 and 5 multiply to be 20 and add up to 9. X squared plus 3x minus 18. We want to see what multiplies to be negative 18 and adds up to 3. So keep in mind, since this is negative, we'll need one positive and one negative, and the bigger number should be positive. This sign tells you the sign of the bigger of the two numbers. So I'll just jump to the correct one, which is going to be a positive 6 and a negative 3. So we would factor this to be x plus 6, x minus 3. Now you don't have to check your work, but you can check your work because if you FOIL, you should get back right what you started with. Okay, this time we're trying to figure out what multiplies to be 8 and adds up to negative 6. So since it's a positive 8 adding up to a negative 6, we need both of the numbers to be negative. So like negative 8 and negative 1, they multiply to be positive 8, but they add up to negative 9, so that one doesn't work. But negative 4 and negative 2, they do multiply to be 8, positive 8, but they add up to negative 6. So there's our answer. So we'll do x minus 4, x minus 2. (56) x squared minus 2x minus 48. So we want something that multiplies to be negative 48, meaning we'll have to have one positive and one negative, and adds up to a negative 2, which means we'll need the bigger one to be negative. So I could try like negative 12 and 4. That adds up to negative 8. Try negative 8 and positive 6. There we go. That's what adds up to negative 2. So we have x minus 8, x plus 2. Not going to worry about 58 actually. Nothing like that on the test. Number 60. Okay, now this is still a quadratic polynomial, but remember we have a few extra steps because we got to do the bottoms up method. But one thing I've been forgetting to check is the very first rule of factoring. Is there anything that all of these have in common? If so, pull that out first. So there's nothing all these have in common, so we can just keep moving along. So this is where, when there's a number in front of the squared, because if you look at every one I've done so far that was quadratic, trinomial, this was just x squared, just x squared, just x squared, just x squared. But then those dirty math teachers, they put a 2 in front. So we've got to do 2 times 3, which is 6. So we want to find out what will multiply to be 6 and add up to negative 9. So we need them both to be negative. So negative 6, negative 1 gives us negative 7. Negative 2, negative 3 gives us negative 5. So nothing that multiplies to be positive 6 adds up to a negative 9. So that means this is prime or not factorable. You can write whichever one you prefer. Prime or not factorable. Okay, 62. 2a squared plus 13a minus 24. 2 times negative 24 is negative 48. So since it's negative, we need a positive and a negative. And we want the bigger one to be positive because that's a positive right there. So I tried positive 48, negative 1. That adds up to positive 47. No good. Positive 24, negative 2 adds up to 22. No good. 16 and negative 3. There we are. 16 and negative 3 do multiply to negative 48 and add up to 13. So we'll start by writing a plus 16, a minus 3. Then remember, we tried to hide that 2 by multiplying it to the 24, but it's coming back trying to divide and conquer. So this 16 over 2 comes out even to just 8. But this one we cannot reduce it, so the bottom has to come up. We'll follow the same process. 2x squared minus 3x minus 20. So we try to hide this 2 away because it's a pain. We say 2 times negative 20 is negative 40. So we want something to multiply to be negative 40. So one has to be positive, one has to be negative, and the bigger one will be negative because that one's negative. So I'll go ahead and tell you it's going to be negative 8 and positive 5. That adds up to negative 3 like we want it to. So we'll do x minus 8, x plus 5. And just another reminder, it does not matter which order you put these in. If you put x plus 5 first and x minus 8 second, that's completely fine. Then we divide both by 2, because that 2 we tried to hide in with the 20 to make the 40s coming back, trying to divide and conquer us. 8 divided by 2 is 4. This 2 comes up, because we can't reduce it, makes it, we bring the bottom up, it becomes 2x plus 5. Okay, 66. We have 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. Okay, so we want to get rid of the 6 because it's a pain. 6 times 5 then is negative 30. So we want something that multiplies me negative 30. That means one positive and one negative. Adds up to negative 7. So the bigger one needs to be negative. So negative 30 and 1 gives us negative 29. No good. But negative 10 and 3 do give us what we need. So we get x minus 10 and x plus 3. Okay, this is a good example because there are times where you have to reduce the fraction before you do anything. And this is a good example of that. So we still have to divide both of these by 6. But we can't just bring the bottom up right now. We have to reduce these fractions first. So 10 over 6 reduces to 5 over 3. 3 over 6 reduces to 1 over 2. So before you bring the bottom up, you must remember to reduce the fraction. So on this one, the 3 comes up, giving us 3x minus 5. On this one, the 2 comes up, giving us 2x plus 1. Man, well, there's more good news for you. When I was first planning, we were going to have done section 8.7 before the test, but we didn't. So you don't have to worry about numbers 68 through 80 at all. We are going to go over those after this test, but there's nothing like that on the test. So if you're good through number 66, you are good to go. Good luck. I hope to see you tomorrow.